You have walked into a forest and thought about how peaceful it was, how quiet, how empty. It wasn't empty, it went quiet because you arrived. Long before you saw a single tree, dozens of animals heard you coming and made the same decision at the same moment: leave. And here's the part your own senses have never told you. To almost every animal alive, you are not a hiker. You are the single most terrifying thing on this planet. Scarier than a lion, scarier than a wolf, scarier than anything that has ever hunted them for a million years. And it isn't your smell that does it, or a gunshot, or a dog. It's the sound of your voice, talking normally, about nothing at all. So why? Why does an animal that has never been hunted by a human, that has never even seen one, run from us first and fastest? The answer changes everything we think we know about fear, about memory, and about what kind of animal we actually are. Let's start with what we actually are, because we are not a predator the way a lion is a predator. In 2015, a biologist named Chris Derrimont at the University of Victoria pulled together more than 2,000 estimates of how fast predators kill all over the world and published what he found in the journal Science. Humans hunt and kill adult land carnivores, bears, wolves, cougars, the animals at the very top, at roughly 9 times the rate those animals kill each other. In the ocean, we take adult fish at up to 14 times the rate of the sharks and seals that eat them. But the number isn't the frightening part. What's frightening is which animals we take. Every other predator on Earth hunts the edges of a population: the sick one, the old one, the young one that wandered too far. Dermont's team described this as living off the interest. A wolf pack takes what the herd can afford to lose, which is exactly why herds survive wolves for thousands of years. We do the opposite. We take the prime adults, the biggest bull, the healthiest buck, the breeding female, the fish that got big enough to matter. We spend the capital. No predator in the history of life has ever hunted like that, because no predator could. A lion that only chased the strongest animal in the herd would starve in a month. And animals don't only respond to being killed, they respond to the possibility. In 2001, the ecologist John Laundrie and his colleagues gave this a name that stuck: the landscape of fear. The idea is that a predator reshapes a place just by existing in it: where you eat, when you drink, how long you're willing to put your head down and stop watching. A deer doesn't need to see a wolf to be changed by wolves, it needs to believe one could be there. We are the most powerful landscape of fear that has ever existed. We didn't just enter the food chain, we changed what the top of it means. Now, some of you are thinking, of course, an animal bolts at a strange, loud noise. That's not fear of humans, that's fear of anything unfamiliar. It's a fair objection. And the answer comes from a wood outside Oxford in a group of extremely unbothered badgers. Researchers Michael Clinchy and Liana Zinet, working with David MacDonald at Oxford, hid speakers and cameras in Wytham Woods and waited for badgers to come out and feed. Then they played them the sounds of bears, wolves, dogs, and people, just recordings of ordinary voices, some of them reading passages out of books. The bears and dogs made the badgers cautious. The human voices, published in the journal Behavioral Ecology in 2016, stopped most of them from eating at all. Same speaker, same volume, same dark wood. The only thing that changed was which species was on the recording. They could tell, and it was us they wouldn't come out for. It gets stranger the higher up you go. In the Santa Cruz Mountains of California, a researcher named Justine Smith set up speakers at the kill sites of mountain lions, a puma standing over a deer it worked days to bring down. When she played recordings of Pacific tree frogs, the pumas stayed. When she played people quietly talking, the pumas abandoned their food and fled in 83% of trials. Her 2017 paper in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B found they cut their feeding time by more than half and then had to kill about a third more animals just to make up the difference. An apex predator behaving like prey. Then came the waterholes. In 2023, Zanette's team took this to the Greater Kruger in South Africa and ran it in the dry season, when leaving water is the most dangerous choice an animal can make. Hidden speakers played three things: lions snarling and growling, the sounds of hunting, dogs barking, gunshots, and humans at conversational volume, speaking Songa, Northern Sotho, English, and Afrikaans. 19 species came: giraffes, zebras, kudu, warthogs, hyenas, leopards, elephants, rhinos. 95% of them ran more often or fled the water faster for the human voices than for the lions. They were twice as likely to run, and they abandoned the waterhole 40% faster. Animals that eat lions were more frightened of a person talking about nothing. A lion is a danger. We are a category. So, what does a world that afraid of you actually do about it? It moves into the dark. In 2018, an ecologist named Caitlin Gaynor gathered 76 studies covering 62 species across 6 continents and published the result in Science. On average, mammals near people became 1 1/3 times more nocturnal, not near hunters, near people, hikers, roads, farms, campsites. A deer that would have grazed in the afternoon now grazes at 1 in the morning. A boar that fed at dusk waits until midnight. Across the entire planet, wild animals are quietly rescheduling their lives around the hours we're asleep and giving up the daylight to do it. And here's the part nobody talks about: none of this is instinct. Animals are not born knowing what we are. In 1835, Charles Darwin landed in the Galapagos and found birds that had never learned. He pushed a hawk off a branch with the muzzle of his gun, and it simply looked at him. A mockingbird landed on the edge of the water pitcher he was holding and drank from it. On one island, he watched a boy sitting beside a well with a stick, killing doves and finches as they flew down to drink. With a small pile of them already collected for dinner, the birds kept coming. They had no idea. Darwin understood exactly what he was seeing. The tameness was disappearing wherever we arrived, generation by generation. There's a word for what happens to the ones who don't learn in time. The dodo, the bird that has become our shorthand for stupid, most likely got its name from the Portuguese word dudu, meaning simpleton or fool. The only foolish thing it ever did was walk toward us. And it wasn't alone. In 1741, the naturalist George Steller described an enormous, gentle sea cow in the Bering Sea, so unafraid that boats could pull right alongside it. It was gone by 1768, 27 years from the first written description to the last one alive. Darwin watched it happen in real time once and wrote down what he knew was coming. 2 years before the Galapagos, in 1833, he met the warrah, a fox like wolf on the Falkland Islands and the only land mammal there. It had no fear of people whatsoever. Sailors killed them in the evenings by holding out a piece of meat in one hand and a knife in the other and waiting for the animal to trot over. Darwin wrote that within a few years it would be classed with the dodo as an animal that had perished from the face of the earth. He was right. The last warrah died in 1876. The first dog, wolf, or fox we are known to have wiped out completely. It never learned. It was never given time. We did not teach animals to fear us. We removed the ones that didn't. So, what if the silence in the woods was never peace? Every animal that meets you today is descended from something that ran. The calm ones, the curious ones, the ones that would have walked up to you and looked at your face, their line ends in a well, or a boat, or a stick. What's left is the inheritance of the ones who were frightened enough of us, early enough to have children. You go into the trees to feel calm. They go silent so you'll pass. You call it wilderness. They live in it like there's a monster in it. You have never once meant to frighten anything in your life. They have never once been able to tell the difference. Somewhere out there tonight is a badger that won't come out to eat because it heard someone reading a book, and a puma walking away from food it worked 3 days for, and an elephant turning back from water in the dry season because a person was talking about the weather. We became so good at being dangerous that the whole living world learned our voice by heart, and the only gift we can offer any of it now is to leave. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you made it this far, please subscribe. It really does help the channel more than you may know. Thanks.